we are on to the third video of the Rogues Puptime Chats. This time I will be interviewing Pup Jessie, a wonderful female pup from Buckinghamshire. She's only 19. She's been in the scene for a year and a half. And she is amazing. She is such a good puppy. During our talk, I found out she has 3 pup breeds, and to me that is amazing. Like, I only identify with a border collie, but I haven't come across another pup who has identified as 3 different breeds. You'll find out later on when I show the actual interview. Yeah, let's get to it. Let's actually just watch the interview. It is a really good listen. I would ask you to stick through it. It is quite long, and we do talk about mental health within the community, and we're hoping to offer some help and guidance for those who can be struggling within the mental health capacity. But just a disclaimer, we aren't mental health professionals. We just have our own ways of coping and dealing with it, as I'm sure you all do too. So enough of me yapping. Let's roll. So, do you want to do a little intro about yourself?
Yep, sounds good. So I'm Pup Jessie. I am 19. I'm from a place called Buckinghamshire. I'm a submissive, and my dog breeds are Golden Retriever, Bernese Mountain Dog, and Great Dane.
So, you're the first pup I've come across who has multiple breeds.
Yes. It can be confusing.
Yeah, why multiple breeds?
I think it's just a matter of what headspace I'm in. So with my Bernese Mountain Dog, I can be a bit more reserved, just a bit more docile. With my Golden Retriever one, I'm a little bit dumb and a little bit weird in it, like just all over the place, but like really loving and friendly in my Golden Retriever. And with my Great Dane, that's just kind of like a big friendly giant. I don't know any spatial awareness or boundaries. I just waddle in like, oh yeah.
That's fair. That is fair. That is completely understandable. So how long have you been a pup for?
So it's always cliche that it starts at the childhood when everyone's playing princess, you're playing the pet. So I grew up always role playing as animals, and obviously when I hit 18, I found the BDSM community, and I was like, brilliant, this is really cool. It's a way for me to feel safe in a lot of things I was exploring, because as a submissive, the main concern is your safety in it. And being a pup, I just came into this community like, wow, everyone's so accepting and everyone's so knowledgeable. I was able to have like hour-long chats at events about the safeties of BDSM, and it was just like, I knew it was for me, that I could just be in this headspace and escape everything I needed to escape and just be a good dog.
Good dog.
You are a good dog.
You are a good dog.
Yeah.
I love your ears. They're so they're amazing.
You're so fluffy.
They're so soft.
You're so fluffy.
Amazing. Yeah. Moving on. The main topic of this interview is mental health within the community. Would you mind just kind of telling us what it is that you live with?
So, ever since I was about 10, I've been suffering with social anxiety, separation anxiety, depression, PTSD, and I've been on and off with insomnia since I was about 12. So that came a bit later, the insomnia. But yeah, that's about it.
Trust, I relate with you on quite a few of those. PTSD, depression. I've got those. My doctors chucked me on lots of meds, and
Yes.
it's not fun, is it?
Fun.
But you know, it's weird because a lot of people in the community you'll come across, either one of them will turn around and say, "Oh yeah, I've suffered a bit with that. I've suffered a bit with that," and you just have to be like,
Yeah.
"How am I supposed to help?"
It's like, oh.
But yeah, everyone has it. But the reason I wanted to do this is because it can heavily impact your puppy headspace.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I lost my headspace for about a year and a half, because of my depression and my anxiety. So a whole year and a half I could not get into headspace, and it did not help at all.
No. It's a very sensitive and like individual thing, especially with pup headspaces as well. It's like there's certain things which can trigger it, but there's also lots of things which can just pull you out of it immediately.
Oh yeah.
And especially at pup events when you don't necessarily know everyone there and they don't know you or your triggers, and they could just do something or say something and suddenly it's like out of it. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah, I've had that multiple times at pup events. Because I also have like autism and ADHD at the same time. It's really difficult when something triggers me and I just freeze. I just completely shut down.
Yeah.
So the thing that's triggering me can still be going on.
Yeah.
But I can't get out of that situation by myself. I've literally, Chip Pup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's carried me out of a pup event.
Oh, bless
Like
him.
shut down.
Yeah.
It's just
so good to have those people in the community you can really trust to get you out of situations which you just find yourself in.
Yeah, it's just, if he wasn't there, it could have been like so much worse. But yeah,
For
so
sure.
I totally get, the mental illnesses within the community, and you've only been in the community for a year now?
Yeah, like a year and a half.
I mean, not in a bad way, just because of your age. God, you had to come into community in 2020, didn't you?
Yeah, I know. It's like mental.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So for those who don't, who might not really know, how can you just explain a bit more, like, your depression, your anxiety, your separation anxiety? That is one I don't come across very often. You want to explain a bit more about those?
Of course. So I'll start off with separation anxiety because that's probably the one which I have to struggle with a lot.
Yeah.
And it's one which people don't necessarily know exists. And I'm pretty sure that there's so many people out there who have it and just don't realise they have it. And it kind of stems from a fear of abandonment. And it's kind of like I get really bad anxiety when I'm left alone. Or when I'm not included with things, and especially with my family. Like when I was a child and sleepovers were like amazing things for everyone else, for me it was just hell. I'd be like, what's going on with my family? Is everyone safe? I can't be coping not knowing what's happening elsewhere. And it kind of just, it stems from being alone and feeling unwanted and not needed, which separation anxiety comes from. It's like I always need someone to be there for me or to be with me, someone I can have as my own.
Yeah.
So it's definitely hard at pup events, especially if you go with someone and then suddenly they have like a massive group of friends and you're like, I need someone.
Yeah.
I'm alone. I need you. And it can come off like really awful. And I know that it's definitely ruined a few friendships of mine from when I was like first diagnosed, and I didn't know how to cope with being the kid who always needs that support. And it's just something I live with.
Yeah. No, I get you completely on that.
With my social anxiety, it's weird because it can be on and off. So sometimes I really crave social events. Like, I crave to be around people. I need it. And then on other times it could be like really overstimulating. So with social anxiety, for me, a lot of it comes from people outside of the pup community, and especially with people with like the secondary age because of my trauma at secondary school. Whenever I see like a group of kids in school uniform, it's like I can't cope with that. Or really old men. So with my social anxiety, it's not kind of a blanket, I don't like socializing because it scares me. It's kind of more of there are certain situations where I can cope with socializing, and there's certain situations which can make it really difficult for me.
Yeah. Because I feel you on the same with the secondary school. Being bullied during secondary school isn't fun. I'm guessing that's the kind of trauma you had.
Yeah, it's a funny place, school. Everyone's either trying to survive by being the bully or trying to survive by being the one who's being bullied, and everyone's just trying to get through school, and it's just dependent on what type of person you are. Like, I've always been a bit like submissive, just like in different ways. I've always just been that docile person who can kind of just like plod along and fit to many environments. And I guess growing up, that was because I wasn't really outgoing and bold. I was the one who was to be picked on.
Yeah. Always kind of like, you didn't come up with the ideas, you just followed what other people did.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. I do agree with that.
Represent.
Yeah. Oh dear. We are. Yeah, it really does highlight how someone within the community can be so obviously submissive or dominant.
Yeah.
From their school days.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Especially with like on Twitter when you see those like really jock puppies, and you just know at school that they were the popular kids, and you're like, ooh,
yeah.
popular kids liked my post.
Like, you were the kind of guys who would bully me. Yay! Oh. Well then.
So one of the things I like really wanted to talk about today was PTSD. Because it has so many misconceptions and stereotypes around it, especially as when you say PTSD, everyone's like, oh, that's for like the army, right? Like, what? And it's like, no. PTSD, it stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, which means it can be any trauma you've had which has given you a kind of like loop and is giving you that negative process. For mine, it stemmed from sexual abuse and bullying when I was a child. I was raped when I was 12, and a lot of people think that people with PTSD, they're jumpy at everything, they avoid situations. But for me, when I was raped, the way I coped with it was putting myself out there and being promiscuous and kind of trying to take control of something I had no control over. So I thought, okay, I was raped, I couldn't control that, but now I can control my body. I can control who uses it. And it was like a really negative coping strategy for it, because it just ended in more bullying and more negative thoughts for me and negative thoughts about my body. And it's kind of like, it's a really hard one, PTSD, because there is no set way on how someone can cope with it. And it can be fine some days, like sometimes you don't even know it's there, and then on other days it's like poof, like the main forefront of your mind. And I think a lot of people who suffer with PTSD are often afraid of talking about it because they're scared that they're going to be treated differently for having trauma. And it's like, that's I'm trying to empower people. You can talk about your trauma, you can have PTSD and not necessarily it be a massive thing. I know people who have had PTSD from having a bike accident or having something happen in the family which they think, oh, I shouldn't have PTSD from this, but you can have PTSD from anything. It's like your way of processing a negative trauma. And it's just about kind of owning to yourself, like, yes, I've had this trauma. Now, what's the next step for me to be able to cope with it? Sort of thing. Oh, I went all powerful then. Like,
You did go all powerful. Look at those ears swing.
I am a powerful dog.
You are a powerful dog.
I take ownership in my trauma.
You've got to take ownership of your trauma. I have days like that where, you know, I was anally raped at 18
Yeah.
by a bad dom, and you know, sometimes I just wake up and it's at the forefront of my mind. I just can't stop thinking about it. I just, you know, try and think of different ways that it could have, you know, gone differently, but
Yeah.
you know, there's nothing you can do to change it, but it's just there at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can totally relate with you on that. You know, I've also had like a motorbike accident. You know, I went flipped over my handlebars.
Oh my goodness.
I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine.
That's good.
It was fun, you know.
It was an experience.
It was. Not everyone can experience that. But I just kept telling myself I have to get on a motorbike as soon as I possibly can, otherwise I'm gonna have reoccurring panic attacks over it. And within 3 days, I was back on a motorbike, and I haven't had any issues with that, with riding. So, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder, as you say, can come across in many different ways. It's just you've got to find the way of coping with it and owning it.
Yes.
Yes.
We own our imperfections.
Exactly. The imperfections are what make you who you are.
Exactly. I wouldn't want to be anyone else. I won't change my trauma because it made me who I am.
Yeah.
And my trauma with secondary school, I had lots of trauma in secondary school, but it motivated me to become a teacher. I'm currently training to be a teacher. I'm going back into that environment where I had trauma to help the ones who are getting trauma. It's like I would never change my past, and I think I could hate these people forever and hold on to a grudge, or I could just go, you know what, they don't deserve my headspace, so I'm not going to give them my headspace.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to give them anything. Like, again, you could hate them, but what use would that be?
Exactly.
they're I don't know about you, but mine are gone. Mine are long gone. I left them in my past, and that's where they're going to stay.
That is the best place to leave those people. So on to insomnia, I guess. So insomnia is the condition where someone finds it really difficult to sleep or sleeps too much. So it is focused around sleeping, and many conditions come hand in hand with insomnia. So you could have anxiety, and insomnia will be part of that anxiety. And for me, what I used to do is, because I read once that statistically bad things happen at night, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna stay awake until the sun rises and then sleep. And that was okay in winter, but getting to summer, I was pretty wired.
Yeah.
And with my insomnia, I also get visions. So I hear things which aren't there, I see things which aren't there. I've had a couple of episodes of sleep paralysis from it, and it's kind of, I was prescribed sleeping medication, and when I took it, I woke up feeling really ill and achy and just gross. So I stopped taking them because I was like, I don't want to feel worse, and that will make my depression worse. So what worked for me was having someone talk to me as I fell asleep, knowing that someone was there and that someone was protecting me, and that goes hand in hand with my separation anxiety. So insomnia is, again, it's just like every other mental health issue, is so individual. So everyone experiences it in a different way. Someone could find it easy to go to sleep at night, but then sleep through the day as well, and that's what they struggle with. And some people, it could be more on the like distraction side, so they're constantly distracted by games, by phones, by that, and they stimulate their mind, making it just physically impossible to sleep. Um, so yeah, it's just it's basically just where you struggle to sleep, but it gets really bad.
I cannot relate with you on that because I am a very good sleeper. So yay. But hearing that, it just kind of makes you wonder more about the mind, why your mind does that. Yeah.
For sure.
It's just weird. Like,
the mind is one complicated fucker.
It really is. It really is complicated fucker. Why does it do this?
Why do this to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have I covered everything? Have I missed one out?
Have you talked about depression?
No, I haven't. The big boy.
The big boy.
So, depression. Let's talk about this. Depression is where it's not just feeling sad. I've noticed a lot of people label things as depression when it's actually just something's happened to make them feel sad. Depression is more of a kind of uncontrollable cloud over your life. And on some days, you'd be skipping around feeling happy, and then suddenly, boof, the cloud arrives and
Yeah.
it's no longer sunny. And depression can affect people in many ways. I know that a lot of people have a history of self harm when they have depression. I self harmed, and I'm continuing my recovery of that. And it's with depression, everything in recovery comes as a roller coaster. I mean, like, it's such a staggered process with depression, and it's hard when you get up to here and then suddenly you drop down a bit and you think, I'm back at step one, hasn't worked, I might as well stay here. And it's about that, breaking that thought process of, no, actually, I've done so much and I'm going to get myself back up there. In depression, it's so varied, and I think everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people have suffered with depression or depression symptoms, especially in this year's climate. I mean, everyone's probably feeling a really low ebb at the minute, and they should totally feel valued and allowed to feel that way. I know a lot of people feel guilty for having depression, but you have every right to do it, and there's no right way of being depressed as well. It's like when people put a label on it, like, oh yeah, you should be losing interest in everything. You should be drawing away. You only have depression if you feel like this and do this. And it's like, no. Depression is something, again, in our complex mind, which can stop people from feeling wanted and feeling loved and feeling like they have a purpose in this world. And how that manifests itself, someone could be really outgoing just to put that mask on and to be like, right, the only way I'm going to deal with this is if I be someone else. And some people find it in a way that they just withdraw and they don't know how to approach it. And it's a tough one to explain.
It
Because
is.
it comes in so many different ways. And I
Does.
guess the main symptoms are losing interest in the things you love, feeling like you don't have value, feeling worthless, and like you don't have a place in this world. And obviously, getting thoughts about hurting yourself is one of the big symptoms of depression. And it's so awful that so many people feel that way.
Yeah.
I think, not to sound all like teenagers, but with the pressure of social media, with the pressure of anything and everything in this life, about having the best job, about having the best social friends or the best weekends and the holidays and all of that, it's like, even with the pup community, having a good looking hood, having all geared up and being expected to be a certain way, like, oh, if you're a skinny gay boy, then you have to act all sissy. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. And all that pressure is going to make people feel like they're not wanted and they're not valued for who they are. And, on some pup events, I go in like joggers and a t-shirt and I just put a hood on. Sometimes I don't even put a hood on and I just lay down. Like,
Just lay down. Whatever.
just because my Twitter shows me in like a harness and a hood doesn't mean that that is my real life. And I think it's so hard for everyone to feel like they are living their real life because of social media. They think that, oh my goodness, they're being pup all the time, and I only get to be pup like once a month, and oh, like, obviously I'm not pup enough. And it's like, you are. We don't get to pup all the time. Sometimes we'll get like a bit of space to do it, and some of those pictures are probably years old, which people are just like, okay, yeah, we'll put that one up. So depression is just, I think it's so easy to get yourself depressed and to keep telling yourself these bad thoughts, and it spiral into something really awful. So yeah. Depression.
Depression. Everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, going off of that, depression is a bit hit and miss, because everyone expects you to be just this one way and you're not that one way, or it's just so difficult, But just kind of like summarizing it all up, your mental health illnesses, they all kind of interlink with each other. I'm guessing when you are really suffering with insomnia, your depression peaks.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And vice versa with all of it.
Oh yeah. And sometimes it's just really, really hard to explain what you're feeling and what you need.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when it comes to mental, like depression episodes, that clouds come and I just need someone to sit with me. But it's to be a pain.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Like, communication is always somehow lost in mental health situations. Like, no matter what you're suffering with, sometimes you feel like you can't tell people what you want, or sometimes people feel, oh, I'm expected to want like support through this, so I'm afraid to say no, actually I just need some space.
Yeah.
And it's about kind of realizing that there is no set boundaries to mental health, and that to be able to just have one person who go, look, if I experience this while we're out, do you mind if this happens, or could you come and sit with me, or could you give me space? Whatever you need, it would be good to have one person at least who you brief before going out, especially at pub events, because things can get really overwhelming at pub events. So I remember one time I was having such a good time, and then suddenly I sat down and I just burst into tears because I was like, this is so overwhelming. I've had so much fun, but I don't know how to process the fact that I've actually enjoyed myself. So I just burst into tears, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this information.
Yeah, do you reckon it's kind of like the feeling of your mental health illnesses are trying to tell you that you don't deserve that fun?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I
they
feel
were
like
attack.
I feel like there's definitely some sort of guilt attached sometimes to be able to have fun.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, and what if people question that I have mental health issues if I present in this way?
Definitely. All right. Moving on.
Taking up all your time.
We've been talking for half an hour so far. It's fine. It's fine. I said we can chat for as long as you want. What would you recommend to those who may be suffering, those with like, who have been diagnosed, or those who think they might have it?
Yeah, so it's all individual. So what I recommend first of all is kind of understanding yourself, because it's hard for you to tell someone else what you're going through if you don't even understand it yourself. And oh my goodness, I've had years of that where I'm like, I don't even know what's getting to me right now, but
Yeah.
I'm off on one. So it's just about finding where you are and what works for you. It's what works for one person may not work for you, and vice versa. So to have someone come up to you when you're in a panic attack and someone say, oh yeah, you should do this because that totally works for me, and it's like, well, it doesn't work for me. And just because you suffer with things doesn't mean that you're some god who should be obeyed and listened to. And I'm not here to tell people how to cope with their problems. And obviously I've been part of the therapy kind of route for a very long time, and I've done things like CBT and talking therapy and all that, and it hasn't worked for me. And then I have doctors telling me CBT works for everyone with anxiety, and it's like, no, it doesn't. um, and I'm kind of like a big supporter of group therapy. It's like I find it much easier to vent in group chats than to vent to someone one on one. Because
Yeah.
I tend to feel like in group chats you're not specifically talking to anyone, you're just talking out loud.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're one on one with someone, you kind of worry about what they're thinking, or if you're going to trigger them with what you're saying. So I actually made a group chat called Wellness Pups, and it's just a place where people can vent and not worry, because I know that there's a lot of group chats out there where people are kind of expected not to talk about what's bothering them, and
Yeah.
if they are struggling, it's kind of like, what, talk to someone in PM, you can't say it here.
Yeah. If you send me the link, I'll chuck it on the video.
Woo! I'll do that. So yeah, it's just I use art to express myself a lot, and that can come in me drawing art or commissioning art. It's like if one day I'm feeling quite low, I'll get like a really cutesy bit of art, and it's like, oh, that really like helps. It reminds me of who I am. So I'm in the furry community, but kind of more on the art base. I don't really socialise with many furries, only at pup events where there happens to be a furry who's a pup.
Yeah.
But it's kind of finding out what you really love and what makes you happy and working from there.
Yeah.
I do recommend talking to doctors. I know they can be really scary and really hard to approach sometimes. I've been really lucky with my doctor. She has been so open-minded and so supportive ever since I was a child. And she's kind of really down to earth. It's like I'll come in and I'm like, hey, I've accidentally relapsed with my self-harm. And she'd be like, oh, you silly dog.
She knows your pup stuff.
She knows little bits. I tell her that I age regress for therapy and that also manifests itself in being different characters and stuff. And she's just really on board with me kind of taking control of my therapy, because it's hard, especially when you're young. If you're being forced into therapy, it feels like you have no control over it. And then you're putting your control in this stranger's hands and being like, okay, I'm now expected to open up to you when I don't even know how to do that to myself. So it's about feeling empowered by mental illness, sort of thing.
Did you ever go to CAMS?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, what a brilliant place to be.
Isn't it just?
Oh, goodness. The horror stories of CAMS.
Oh my god, no. Don't. Oh god. Just makes me want to cry every time I think about it. Yeah.
And another message I want to put out there, that all pets, anyone who happens to stumble across this video, whether you're a pet or not, is just like, don't ever feel like you're not as valued or included because of your mental health. And especially for those who self-diagnose, I mean, it can be a very touchy subject for people, and I've seen people get really upset by people who self-diagnose. But at the same time, it's about supporting that and being like, okay, you feel like you have this condition, let's work on that. Let's find a way. If you're too scared to go to a doctor about it, it doesn't mean that you should be shunned from everyone, like, oh, you're just a faker, you're using it for attention and stuff like that. Because I've seen a lot of that, like, oh, were you diagnosed? And it's the person's been like, no, but this is how I feel. And it's kind of expected, like, oh, unless you have a doctor's certificate, you're not part of it. And it's about showing kindness to everyone. I mean, everyone is going through their own little things, and I personally don't want to be a part of someone's sadness. And what I do is that even if I don't connect with someone, if I don't particularly like them, I won't isolate them, because I know how hard feeling isolated is. And it's something which a lot of people struggle with. And with the pup community, it's full of people who are using escapism as a way to cope. And it's like, if they start to feel isolated, then it can be really damaging, really, really damaging. And obviously, Pastel. I was thinking of his real name. I was thinking of his real name then, and I was like, don't say it. Pastel is doing the identity is diversity campaign, which I think is absolutely wonderful, because the pup community is so diverse. And I do recommend everyone like go and do that, because it kind of gives you a little boost of confidence as well when you see that people are liking it, and you're able to see that you're being involved in the community. You are part of it then. And it's like, oh, look, oh, that person liked it, oh, I've got a new follower, sort of thing. Kind of, it makes you feel more valued. And obviously, I don't recommend to anyone that your social media is how you're valued, because that's a really bad downward spiral. But it does help where you do feel part definitely include.
Yeah.
Include
Include. That is the one.
include. Feel include now. Yeah, I guess also finding someone, if you go into an event, just find someone who you can trust and maybe let them know how you're feeling, even before an event. Talk to an admin or someone in the group chat who you feel would be supportive. It's not good to completely rely on people because everyone has their own issues. But for one, I can promise that I will always be there for anyone who's struggling. I'm happy to take time out to sit with someone who's having a hard time. I'll be there to listen. I'll be there to be goofy and stupid if you need that. I can't promise to give you the most intellectual conversation, but I will be silly.
Yes. I'm saying. Even though I struggle with mental health a lot, when someone else is suffering, my mind goes, and I just end up sitting there going,
Yes.
how are you feeling?
It's like mother mode. Activate.
Yeah.
I will protect.
So, yeah, it's difficult because you know in your head what they're roughly feeling,
Yeah.
but you can't voice it. I don't know. You're the same. That's
Yeah. It's hard to breach that. I feel that stuff too sometimes. I'm here. You can talk
yeah.
to me. Because I think a lot of people, especially older pups, are ashamed sometimes of feeling that way. Like, oh my goodness, why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't be feeling that way. And the more traditional pups are a bit kind of, oh, you shouldn't be feeling that way in pup headspace. That's not what it's for, sort of thing. And it's hard to avoid. I mean, I never know when things are just going to hit me. But
Yeah.
it's good that things like this and our talk now can maybe make people feel a bit safer to feel that way and
Yeah, absolutely.
have those feelings. Because I mean, no matter who you are, you're gonna have some negative feelings or negative things happen in your life which causes negative thoughts. And it's about not feeling alone while you're doing that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely understand that. Moving on.
Yeah.
To the last question that we have planned.
Yeah.
At 41 minutes.
Ramble pup.
How does it affect you in day-to-day life?
Boy. So, where to start? I guess ever since I was a child, my mental health has deeply affected my relationships with people, whether it's family relationships, friendships, relationships, all the ships. It has deeply affected it, and it's kind of, especially with friendships as a child, I've never felt like I've fit in anywhere. I've never fit in with the popular kids. I've never fit in with the kids who like computers. All of the different groups I always thought that I wasn't a part of, and that I'd be sitting with a group of friends and unknowingly I'd be feeling like I'm on the outside of the group and not actually integrated in it. So it's always been a battle of my own self-worth, and every day I think about my self-worth, and on good days I'll be like, yes, queen, princess. And on bad days I'll be like, no one even knows I exist. And obviously that's a big lie. I've had lots of people approach me on bad days like, girl, you fine. and, and it's just, I'm very lucky to have a really supportive family and a supportive boyfriend, supportive alpha. I mean, I got lucky on that front. And a lot of people don't have that. And I'm grateful for what I have. And I feel all my life I've been struggling with some sort of guilt about that. Like, oh, I've had it made for me. I've got a great family. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food on the table. I shouldn't be feeling like this. So I think for me, day-to-day life is just kind of like surviving.
Yeah.
When something bad happens, trying to keep on surviving from it. So I distract myself a lot with baking, games, crafts, Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Literally anything I can get my hands on. I mean, I collect hoods.
Do collect hoods. Would you mind showing us your hoods? All of them.
Of course.
Are they nearby?
Ignore my pillow.
That's fine.
My teddy.
That's fine.
Your traditional Mr. S.
Yep.
The new style, K9.
It's cute.
Great Dane. Big friendly giant.
Yeah.
My rough one. And this one's kind of for when I'm half age regressed, half puppy. So when I'm in little space, but also just want to be dog.
So super puppy.
And,
That is adorable.
hey.
That is adorable. Is that another kitty?
Yes. And I've got to have my fluffy ears.
Yes. Those fluffy. I don't have fluffy ears. Mine are just
So yeah.
the floof.
The floof.
The floof.
My
You
pup
look,
has explained.
you look absolutely adorable in all of them.
Thank you.
But do you reckon, another question?
Yeah.
Do you reckon your mental health has kind of impacted your financial health?
Oh my goodness, yes. So much. Single hobby and coping mechanism I have also comes with financial burden. And I think mainly when I'm feeling low with depression is when I spend the most.
Shopping therapy.
Yes. It's handy if you're a millionaire.
So handy if you're a millionaire.
Not for a pup like me.
Oh, to be fair, I'm the same. I don't know if you saw my first video, but I was like, this was. I'm not telling you how much this was.
Yeah. Whenever my parents ask about how much my hoods are, I'm just like, oh yeah, got them in sale, obviously. Let's change the subject.
Yeah. Let's definitely change the subject there, Mum.
I promise that your daughter hasn't turned into some super spender. But yeah, I think that I justify my spendings on the things that make me happy. So with my art, I spend so much money on art, and I kind of justify it on it makes me happy, and the commissioner, they're a person like me, and kind of like they get money, so that makes them happy. And my hoods, I buy them because they make me happy and they help with my coping, and all my little stuff all comes from, hey, you know what? I want to buy that My Little Pony magazine and colour in those ponies.
Yeah.
I will spend a £5 on that.
See, in my head, when I'm having like a bad day, I do buy like small things that are cheap, but a lot at the same time. So it all just adds
Oh
up.
my goodness,
Like,
yes.
a bad day, but going into Primark is a really bad day.
It's always the morning after you've had like a bit of a sleep, you realise that you've had a bad day, you go on online banking and you're like, oh no, what have I done?
Oh dear.
Why did I buy that?
Yeah, I can totally understand that. I think we've covered everything
Yeah.
at 50 minutes.
Way. Thank you for having me.
That is perfectly all right. Thank you so much for coming on and having this chat with me. It's been really quite eye-opening.
Yes, for sure.
To hear
it's been absolutely liberating for me. I feel like I could take on a German Shepherd.
I know quite a few German Shepherds. Do you want me to set you up?
I'm a powerful doggo.
Yeah. Thinking, doing more thinking. Yeah, I can't wait to actually meet you.
I know, same.
Like, this is like I have got the biggest hug for you.
Yay! I need hugs.
Yes, we all need hugs.
Yes.
COVID-19.
Virtual hugs for all.
Yay!
From a 6-foot distance.
Oh. That's one of the
Just like shuffle up to people, up to 6 foot with your hands up, like hug.
Yay! Just imagine it, yeah? Just
Yes, it works.
yeah. Or we could get like really elongated noses and do 6 foot apart nose boops.
Yes.
Like
that sounds wonderful.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, gonna wrap this up now because this is gonna take me forever to edit later.
Oh my god, I did not envy you.
Thanks.